Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English in Fluency. I am Alex, and I am so happy you are here to practice your English with me today. It is wonderful to have this time together, to learn and to grow. Before we begin our lesson, I want to ask you a question. It is a simple question, but the answer is very, very important. How do you talk to yourself? I want you to really think about it. When you are alone, perhaps you are driving your car or washing the dishes, and your thoughts are just moving. What is the sound of that voice in your head? And more importantly, what happens when you make a mistake? Perhaps it is a small mistake. You drop your keys, you spill your coffee. Or maybe it is a mistake related to your English practice. You are speaking to someone and you forget a word, a very simple word. Or you use the wrong tense. You say, I go, when you should have said, I went. What is the very first thought that flashes into your mind? Is the voice in your head kind? Is it patient? Does it sound like a loving teacher saying, oh, that is okay. Let's try again. It was just a small slip. Or, is your voice angry? Is it cruel? Is it a critic? Does it say, oh, you are so stupid? You can't even remember that? You will never learn. You always make mistakes. Why do you even try? For many of us, if we are truly honest, the voice in our head is our worst critic. It is the meanest boss we have ever had. It is a judge that finds us guilty for every small crime. We would never, ever talk to another person the way we talk to ourselves. Imagine your best friend comes to you. They are very sad. They say, I tried to cook dinner tonight, and I burnt it. The food is black. The kitchen is full of smoke. What would you say to your friend? You would probably say, oh no. Are you okay? Don't worry, it's just food. We can order a pizza. It happens to everyone. You would be kind. You would be compassionate. You would not look at your friend and say, you are a failure. You are a terrible cook. You are useless. You would never dream of saying that. But what happens when you burn the dinner? The voice inside screams, you can't do anything right. You are a failure. We give kindness to our friends, to our children, to our pets, but we save all of our cruelty for ourselves. Today, we are going to talk about something that I believe is very, very important. It is perhaps more important than any grammar rule or any long list of new vocabulary words. We are going to talk about being kind to yourself. We are going to explore this idea of self-compassion. We are going to learn how to love who we are, right now, in this moment, even when we are not perfect. Especially when we are not perfect. This is a journey. It is not a fast or easy thing. It is a practice. It is something we must choose to do every single day. But it is the most important journey we can ever take, because it changes everything. It changes how we learn, how we live, and how we connect with the world. And today, as we explore this big, beautiful idea, we will practice our English. We will practice our listening. We will learn new words. And we will practice our speaking. I am going to tell you a story. It is a story about someone named Clara. And as we listen to Clara's story, we will stop. We will think about her life. We will think about our lives. We will learn the words she needs. And we will practice speaking so you can build your confidence, not just in your English, but in yourself. Are you ready? Take a deep, slow breath. Relax your shoulders. Let's begin. Clara was a baker. She owned a small shop, a lovely little place tucked away on a quiet, tree-lined street. The shop was called the Sunrise Bakery. It was her dream. She had spent years saving money and practicing recipes to open it. The shop was beautiful, exactly as she had imagined it. It had a bright, cheerful blue door that chimed with a little bell every time a customer came in. It had two big windows that faced the street, and she always filled the windows with fresh flowers and plates of her prettiest creations. In the morning, starting at 5 ohm, the smell of fresh bread, warm from the oven, and the sweet, comforting scent of cinnamon, chocolate, and vanilla would fill the entire street. People walking to work would stop, close their eyes, and just breathe it in. They loved Clara's bakery. People came from all over the city. They said she made the best cinnamon rolls in the world, soft and gooey and covered in cream cheese frosting. They said her sourdough bread had the perfect crust and the softest inside. By all measures, Clara should have been very, very happy. She was living her dream. She was talented. She was successful. Her shop was busy. But Clara was not happy. Clara was almost never happy. She was exhausted. She was stressed. And deep inside, she always felt like she was failing. You see, Clara was a perfectionist. A perfectionist is a person who wants everything to be absolutely perfect. 100% perfect, all the time. For a perfectionist, 99% is not a success. 99% is a failure. If one cookie on a tray was slightly browner than the others, Clara would see it as a complete disaster. She would not see the 11 perfect cookies. She would only see the one failure. And because Clara was a perfectionist, her inner voice, that critic in her head, was not just loud, it was screaming. All day, every day, from the moment she woke up, it started. Get up, you're late. You'll never get everything done. As she baked, that bread didn't rise enough. That's not good enough. When a customer smiled and said, "This is delicious," her inner voice would whisper, "They're just being polite. It's not really that good." She was always tired, always worried, and always felt like she was a fraud, just pretending to be a good baker. One Tuesday morning, Clara decided to try a new recipe. It was a very complex, very difficult recipe for lemon meringue croissants. This was not a simple pastry. It was a test. It involved a laminated dough, which is the dough used for croissants. It had to be made with very cold butter, folded and chilled, and folded and chilled, and folded again, over and over, for hours, to create hundreds of paper-thin layers. Then, the croissant had to be filled with a tart, bright lemon curd. And then, it had to be topped with a soft, fluffy cloud of Italian meringue, which is a meringue made with hot sugar syrup. It was a recipe that required skill, patience, and perfect timing. Clara had worked on it for 3 days. She had prepared the dough, made the curd, and researched the meringue. She woke up at 4 in the morning, 2 hours before her usual time, to prepare the first batch. She put the carefully shaped croissants, topped with their white meringue, onto a large baking tray. She slid them into the big, hot commercial oven. She set the timer for 22 minutes, and she waited. But Clara did not wait patiently. As the minutes ticked by, she scrubbed the counter, her mind racing. Her heart was beating fast. What if the dough doesn't rise? She thought. What if the butter melts out and they become greasy? What if the lemon curd leaks out? What if the meringue gets too brown before the croissant is cooked? What if they are not the best, most perfect croissants in the entire city? What if people hate them? She was already exhausted and worried about failure before she even saw the result. She was not excited. She was terrified. The timer made a loud, buzzing sound. Bzzzt, bzzzt. Clara's heart jumped into her throat. She felt a wave of adrenaline. She grabbed her big, thick oven gloves and pulled open the heavy metal door of the oven. A cloud of dark, gray smoke poured out into her face. It filled the kitchen. It was not the beautiful, sweet smell of lemon and butter and toasted sugar. It was the smell of burning, a sharp, acrid, bitter smell, the smell of failure. Her eyes watered from the smoke. She coughed, waving the smoke away from her face with her gloved hand. And then she looked down at the tray. She froze. The croissants were black. They were not golden brown. They were not even dark brown. They were completely, totally black. They looked like pieces of charcoal. The beautiful white meringue on top, which should have been soft and lightly toasted, was a burnt, melted, sad brown puddle that had dripped all over the tray and turned into a hard, black candy. They were ruined. Completely and totally ruined. 3 days of work. Wasted. Clara just stared at the tray for a long moment. She couldn't move. She just stared. She felt a hot, tight feeling in her chest. Her throat closed up. Her eyes filled with hot, angry tears. And then the voice started. It was so loud it felt like someone was screaming inside her head. "You failed!" it screamed. "You are a total, complete failure. 3 days of work, wasted. All that time, all those expensive ingredients, gone. You are a terrible baker. You are useless. You can't even make a croissant. Who do you think you are? You are a fraud. You will never be good enough. Everyone else can do this. You are a failure. A failure. A failure." She quickly pulled the smoking tray out of the oven and slammed it down onto the metal cooling rack with a loud, crashing sound. She ripped off her oven gloves and threw them onto the floor as hard as she could. "Stupid, stupid, stupid," she whispered to herself, her voice shaking with anger. "I am so stupid." She leaned against the cold metal counter, buried her head in her hands, and began to cry. Not quiet, sad tears, but hard, angry, hopeless sobs. She was not just sad about the croissants. She was disgusted with herself. She felt deep, deep shame. Now, let's pause the story right here. Let's think about Clara. Her emotional reaction was huge. It was massive. What was the fact? The fact was, the croissants were burnt. That's it. That is the fact. But Clara's mind took that one small fact and turned it into a huge, terrible story. The story was, I am a failure. I am useless. I am not good enough. She didn't think, I made a mistake. She thought, I am a mistake. This is what our inner critic does. It takes one small event and makes it mean everything about us. It makes the mistake who we are. This brings us to a very important word I used, shame. This is a powerful, painful emotion. It is very important to understand the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is the feeling you get when you believe you did something bad. Shame is the feeling you get when you believe you are something bad. Guilt says, I did a bad thing. I burnt the croissants. Shame says, I am a bad thing. I am a bad baker. I am a failure. Guilt can actually be helpful. Guilt can motivate us to change. Guilt says, I feel bad that I yelled at my friend. I should apologize. That is positive. Shame is destructive. Shame says, I am a terrible friend. I am a bad person. Shame doesn't motivate us to fix the problem. It makes us want to hide. It makes us feel small and worthless. Clara was feeling deep, crushing shame. Let's practice changing this. Clara's inner voice was so unkind. What if she had a different voice? What if, in that moment, She could find a kind voice, a compassionate voice. Compassion is a beautiful word. It means you feel kindness, warmth, and understanding for someone who is suffering. We feel compassion for our friends. We feel compassion for a crying child. But we must also learn self-compassion. That means turning that kindness and understanding toward yourself. When you are the one who is suffering, what could a kind, compassionate voice say to Clara in that moment, standing in her smoky kitchen? Maybe it could say, "Oh, wow, that is so frustrating. You worked so hard on those for 3 days, and they burned. That is a huge disappointment. I understand why you feel so upset." Do you see the difference? The kind voice doesn't pretend the problem didn't happen. It doesn't say, "It's fine." It accepts the reality. The croissants are burnt. It accepts the feeling. You are frustrated and disappointed. It validates the feeling. To validate means to accept that a feeling is real and reasonable. But it does not attack Clara's character. It does not say, "You are stupid." It says, "That was a difficult situation, and the result was bad. That's okay. We can clean this up. Let's practice this right now. I want you to imagine you made a mistake today. Maybe you spilled coffee all over your important work papers. Your inner critic might immediately scream, "You are so clumsy. You ruin everything. You're an idiot." Now, let's practice the kind, compassionate voice. I want you to repeat these sentences after me. Listen, and then speak the words out loud. Let's try. "Wow, that is a big mess. I am feeling so frustrated right now. And it is okay to feel frustrated. It was just an accident. I can clean this up. Accidents happen to everyone. One mistake does not make me a failure. I will be kind to myself in this moment." How does that feel to say? It feels different, doesn't it? When we speak to ourselves with kindness, we give ourselves space to breathe. We calm our nervous system down. We give ourselves the power to solve the problem instead of just sitting in the bad feeling of shame. Let's go back to Clara. Because of her terrible self-critical reaction, her entire day was ruined. The burnt croissants were just the beginning. She was in a horrible mood. She felt angry at herself, and that anger spilled out onto everyone else. She had to throw away the burnt tray and start making her usual simple products for the day. She was rushed and stressed. A customer came in and smiled. "Good morning, Clara." "What smells so good?" And Clara just snapped back, "The bread." She didn't smile. She was short-tempered. Her young assistant, Ben, who was learning from her, accidentally dropped a bag of flour. A white cloud exploded all over the floor. The old Clara might have laughed, but the Clara of today, the croissant disaster Clara, turned on him and said, "Can't you do anything right? Just look at this mess. Clean it up." Ben's face turned red. He looked like he was about to cry. Clara didn't even care. She just felt angry. Later that afternoon, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her best friend, Maya. Maya was a wonderful, kind person who worked as a teacher. Maya wrote, "Hi, Clara. I just finished work. It's a beautiful sunny day. A few of us are going to the park to have a picnic and enjoy the sun. Want to join us?" Normally, Clara loved picnics. She loved spending time with Maya. Maya always made her laugh. She needed a friend. She needed to get out of the bakery. But today, after the croissant disaster, she felt terrible. She looked at the message, and her inner critic spoke again, but this time in a whisper. "You don't deserve to have fun. You are a failure. You should stay here and work. You have to punish yourself for your mistake. You have to fix the mess you made. You can't relax. Good bakers don't fail like this. So, Clara picked up her phone and wrote back to Maya. Sorry, I can't. I'm just too busy with work. I have a lot to do. Maybe next time. Maya wrote back right away. Oh, okay. Are you sure? You've been working so hard. A break would be good for you. Clara looked at the message and felt a sharp pain of loneliness. She wanted to go so badly. She wanted to sit in the sun and forget about the stupid croissants. But she felt she couldn't. She felt she had to punish herself. She felt she didn't deserve kindness, not even from her friends, and certainly not from herself. She put her phone down and started cleaning the kitchen angrily. This is another thing the inner critic does. It isolates us. To isolate means to make someone separate or alone. Clara's shame made her hide. She didn't want to tell Maya, I had a terrible day. I burnt my new recipe, and I feel like a failure. She was afraid Maya would think she was a failure. So, she hid. She pushed her friend away. She stayed late at the bakery, long after she had closed, scrubbing pans that were already clean. She scrubbed until her hands were red and sore. She went home late, exhausted. She didn't have the energy to cook dinner. She just ate a piece of dry bread standing over the sink. She went to bed feeling empty, lonely, and sad. This pattern, this cycle of perfectionism, failure, shame, and isolation continued for weeks. Clara became more and more isolated, and she became more and more afraid. She stopped trying new recipes. She was too terrified to fail again. She couldn't handle the feeling of that shame. So, she just made the same things, every single day. The same white bread, the same cinnamon rolls, the same chocolate chip cookies. Her bakery was safe. It was predictable, but it was boring. The joy was gone. The creativity was gone. She was just surviving. She was trapped. She was so hard on herself. Do you ever feel like this? Do you ever stop yourself from trying something new because you are afraid of making a mistake? Maybe learning English feels exactly like this. You are in a group and you have a chance to speak. You have an idea in your head. But you are afraid. You are afraid you will use the wrong grammar. You are afraid you will use the wrong word. You are afraid your accent sounds bad. So, you stay silent. Your inner critic whispers, don't speak. People will laugh at you. You sound stupid. It's better to say nothing. This fear, this inner critic, stops you from growing. It stops you from practicing. It stops you from connecting with people. It stops you from living your life fully. You stay in your safe but boring place of silence. Let's practice a phrase for this situation. When you feel afraid to try something, your inner critic is just trying to protect you. It's an old, scared part of your brain that is afraid of failure, afraid of being laughed at. But we can talk back to it with kindness. We can acknowledge the fear. Let's practice this. Repeat after me. Listen, and then speak. I am feeling scared to speak right now. It is scary to try something new, and it is okay to feel scared. But it is also okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are how I learn. My voice deserves to be heard, even if it's not perfect. I am practicing, and that is brave. Very good. Saying these words can feel strange at first. It might feel like you are lying to yourself. But practice helps. You are building a new, kind path in your brain. Clara's life continued in this gray, boring, safe way for almost a month. She was becoming a robot. Wake up, bake the same things, clean, go home, sleep. One Sunday, she woke up, and she just couldn't. She felt so heavy. She couldn't even think about baking. The thought of the bakery made her feel sick and tired. She decided, for the first time in years, to close the bakery on a Sunday. She put a small "closed for the day" sign on the blue door. She felt guilty, but she also felt a small bit of relief. She didn't know what to do. She just put on her coat, left her apartment, and started walking. She didn't have a plan. She just walked. She walked away from her shop. She walked past the busy main streets and the loud traffic. She just kept walking, letting her feet lead her. Eventually, after walking for nearly an hour, she found herself in a part of the city she didn't know well. The streets were quieter, the buildings smaller. She was standing in front of a high fence. Behind it, she could see a large green space. It was a community garden. A community garden is a place where many different people from the neighborhood share a piece of land to grow flowers, vegetables, and herbs. It was beautiful. Even though it was autumn and many plants were finishing, there were still bright yellow sunflowers, big green leafy kale plants, and pots of colorful flowers. The gate was open. She walked inside. It was very quiet. The only sound was the wind in the trees and the birds singing. It smelled like damp earth and leaves. It was a good smell. She walked down a small gravel path, looking at all the different little plots of land. Some were messy, with weeds growing everywhere. Others were very neat and organized. In the back corner, she saw an old man. He was wearing a big, worn-out straw hat and muddy rubber boots. He was kneeling on a small cushion on the ground, gently tending to some plants. He had a kind, deeply wrinkled face. He looked up as Clara walked by, and he gave her a warm, genuine smile. "Good morning," he said. His voice was calm and gentle. "Good morning," Clara said quietly. She stopped. She pointed to a plant in a pot near him. It looked terrible. It was small and weak. The leaves were brown and crispy at the edges, and had yellow spots. It was clearly not a healthy, perfect plant. Is it dying?" Clara asked. The old man chuckled. It was not a mean laugh. It was a kind, soft laugh, like rustling leaves. "Oh, this little one," he said, gently touching one of the brown leaves with his dirty finger. "It's certainly struggling. It's having a very hard time." He used the word struggling. This is a great word. It means trying very hard to do something that is very difficult. The plant was struggling to live. Clara looked at the sad, dying plant. Her first thought, her baker perfectionist thought, was, "You should pull it out. Throw it away. It's a failure. It's ugly. It's ruining the garden. It's not perfect." But the old man did something different. He took a small watering can and gave the plant a little bit of water, right at its base. "I don't think it likes this spot," the man said, mostly to himself, but Clara could hear him. "I think the soil in this pot is too heavy. It's holding too much water. And I think it's getting too much hot sun in the afternoon." Clara was confused. "So, why do you keep it? Why are you wasting your time and water on it? It's clearly a bad plant." The old man, whose name she later learned was Mr. Harrison, looked up at her. His eyes were very clear and very kind. "Oh, my dear," he said gently, as if he was explaining something very simple to a child. "There are no bad plants. There are just plants in the wrong environment. This little one isn't bad. It's not a failure. It just needs something different. This heavy soil is not right for it. This hot sun is not right for it. It's struggling because its conditions are wrong. He smiled again. My job isn't to judge it. My job is to be curious. My job is to watch it, to understand what it needs, and to try and help it grow. Maybe it needs new soil. Maybe it needs a shadier spot. Maybe it just needs more time. We'll figure it out. Clara stood very still. His words felt like a physical shock. There are no bad plants, just plants in the wrong environment. My job isn't to judge it. My job is to be curious. She thought about her burnt croissants. She had judged them. She had judged herself. She had called herself bad, useless, a failure. She had never, not for 1 second, been curious. She had never asked, why did they burn? Was the oven too hot? Was the recipe wrong? What can I learn from this? What condition was wrong? She just screamed failure. She realized in that moment that she had been treating herself like a bad plant. She had been screaming at herself to be better. But she had never stopped to ask, what do I need? This was a turning point for Clara. A turning point is a moment in your life when everything changes. A big decision. A new idea. Her whole way of thinking felt like it was shifting. She looked at Mr. Harrison, this kind stranger in a garden. He was showing more compassion and more intelligence to a single dying plant than Clara had shown to herself in her entire life. She suddenly understood. Self-kindness wasn't about being weak or making excuses. It was about being smart. It was about being curious. It was about asking, what do I need right now to grow? Sometimes the answer is rest. Sometimes the answer is help. Sometimes the answer is different, lighter soil. Sometimes the answer is just a kind word. She thanked Mr. Harrison. She didn't know how to explain what he had just done for her. She just said, thank you, and walked away from the garden feeling different. She felt lighter. A small, tiny window had opened in her dark, perfectionist mind. Let's pause again. This is such a big, important idea. My job isn't to judge it. My job is to be curious. Can we apply this to our English practice? Yes, absolutely. When you make a mistake, when you forget a word, you have two choices. You can judge yourself. I am so bad at English. My memory is terrible. I will never learn. This is judgment. It is a dead end. It just makes you feel bad and want to quit. Or you can be curious. I forgot that word again. That is interesting. Why? Did I not practice it enough? Is it a difficult word? Is there a better way to remember it? Maybe I can write it down and put it on my wall. Maybe I can make a sentence with it. Curiosity opens up solutions. Judgment just closes the door. When you are curious, you are a scientist in your own life. You are an explorer. When you are judgmental, you are a cruel judge and a mean boss. We want to be scientists. Let's practice the language of curiosity. Instead of saying, my pronunciation is terrible, what could you say? Let's practice a curious, kind phrase. Repeat after me. That word is difficult for me to pronounce. That is interesting. I wonder what the correct sound is. Maybe I can listen to Alex say it again, very slowly. I am curious about how to move my mouth to make that sound. Let me try again, just for practice. See? It is about exploring, not attacking. It is about problem-solving, not self-shame. This is a very powerful change in thinking. When Clara got back to her bakery, she felt like she was seeing it for the first time. It was late afternoon now. The bakery was quiet and dark. The burnt tray was still on the counter from that morning. She had been too upset to even wash it. The old Clara would have felt a new wave of shame and anger. "Look, you are lazy too. You didn't even clean up your mess." But the new Clara, the Clara who had just come from the garden, took a deep breath. She looked at the tray. "Okay," she said out loud. Her voice was quiet in the empty shop. "That is a big mess. And I feel frustrated that I wasted those ingredients. I feel sad about it." She allowed herself to feel the feeling. She validated it. She didn't push it away. And then she said, "But it's just a tray of burnt croissants. It doesn't mean I am burnt. It doesn't mean I am a failure. It means the oven was too hot. It was a plant in the wrong environment." It was the first time she had ever defended herself, to herself. She started to clean up, but she did it differently. She didn't scrub the pan angrily, punishing it. She put on some quiet, beautiful music. She filled the sink with hot, soapy water. She let the pan soak. She moved slowly. She was gentle. As she washed the pans, she thought about Mr. Harrison. She thought, "What do I need right now?" And the answer was very clear. She needed rest, and she needed to forgive herself for the mistake. She finished cleaning the kitchen, but she did not start working. She didn't start preparing dough for the next day. She didn't punish herself with more work. Instead, she made herself a cup of her favorite peppermint tea. She sat down at one of the small tables by the window of her dark, quiet bakery. She watched the few people walking by as the sun went down. She just rested. She did nothing. For a perfectionist, doing nothing is the hardest, most uncomfortable thing in the world. Her inner critic was screaming, "You are being lazy! You should be working!" But she listened to the new voice, the garden voice, that said, "You are struggling. You need rest. This is your new soil." It felt strange, but it also felt very, very kind. The next day, she went back to the bakery. The fear was still there. As soon as she thought about the lemon meringue croissants, her heart started to beat faster. The critic was still in her head, whispering, "Don't try it. Don't be stupid. You will just fail again. Stick to the simple things. Stay safe." But now, there was another voice, too. A quieter voice, a calmer voice, the voice of Mr. Harrison, the voice of the garden. It said, "It's okay. What can we learn? Be curious. What was the condition that was wrong?" So, she took a deep breath. She decided to try again. But this time, as a scientist. She pulled out her recipe book. She read it very, very carefully. And she found it. The recipe said 180 degrees Celsius. She looked at the dial on her oven. In her stress and rush the day before, she had set it to 210 degrees Celsius. It was a simple mistake. It wasn't a personal moral failure. It wasn't proof that she was useless. It was a technical error. The oven was 30 degrees too hot. She started to laugh, a real, actual laugh. All that pain, all that shame, all that anger, over 30 degrees. She made the croissants again. She followed every step. She was careful. She was focused. But she was not stressed. She was curious. "Let's see what happens this time," she thought. "This is an experiment." She put them in the oven, at the correct temperature, 180 degrees. She set the timer. When the timer buzzed, she took a deep breath. "Okay, let's get the data," she said, like a scientist. She opened the door. There was no smoke. There was only the most incredible smell. Sweet lemon, rich butter, warm bread, toasted sugar. She pulled the tray out. The croissants were high and fluffy, and a perfect, beautiful, shining golden brown. The meringue on top was like soft white clouds, with just the lightest, most delicate toasted peaks. They were perfect. She stared at them, and this time her eyes filled with tears again. But they were not angry tears. They were tears of relief and joy. She hadn't failed. She had just been on the wrong path. She needed a different environment. She needed a lower temperature, just like the plant. This small victory, this one tray of croissants, changed everything. It was the proof. Clara started to practice this new idea of self-kindness or self-compassion in other parts of her life. It wasn't just about baking. It was about her whole life. For example, she started to pay attention to her body. Before, when she felt tired, her inner critic would call her lazy. "You must keep working," it would say. "Rest is for weak people. You can rest when you are dead." Now, when she felt tired, when her back hurt or her head started to ache, she listened. She heard the garden voice. "My body is struggling. It is not bad or lazy. It is tired. It is a plant that needs water and shade. It needs rest." So, she would actually take a break. She would set a timer for 10 minutes. She would go into the back room, sit down, drink a full glass of water, and close her eyes. Or she would close the shop on time, at 5 p.m., instead of staying until 8 p.m. She stopped working 14-hour days. And a strange, magical thing happened. The more she rested, the more energy she had. The more she rested, the more creative she became. Her bakery became better, not worse. She had more energy, so she was friendlier to her customers. She had more creative ideas for new recipes. Rest was not the enemy of work. Rest was the foundation of good work. Let's practice this. Resting is so important for learning English too. You cannot study grammar for 10 hours every day. Your brain is not a machine. It is a part of your body. It is organic, like a plant. It will get tired. It needs to rest, to build new connections, to move new words from short-term memory to long-term memory. When your brain feels tired and full, do not call yourself lazy or stupid. Be kind. Be a good gardener for your mind. Let's practice the words. Repeat after me. My brain has worked very hard today. It is feeling tired. That is normal and okay. It is time to rest. Rest is an important part of learning. I am not lazy. I am recharging my battery. Excellent. You are learning to be kind to your mind. Clara also started to practice setting boundaries. A boundary is a line. It is a limit. It is a rule that you set to protect yourself, your time, your energy, and your well-being. Before, Clara was a people pleaser. A people pleaser is someone who tries to make everyone else happy, often by sacrificing their own needs. Clara always said yes. A customer wants a giant 3-layer custom wedding cake for tomorrow morning? Yes, Clara would say, even if it meant she had to stay up all night, stressed, exhausted, and crying. She wanted everyone to like her. She was terrified of saying no. Her inner critic told her, "If you say no, they won't like you. You will lose a customer. You will be a failure." A good baker would find a way to do it. One afternoon, a man in a business suit came in. He was talking loudly on his phone. He looked rushed and important. He hung up and turned to Clara. "Hi," he said, not smiling. "I am planning a big office party. It's tonight. I need 200 of your famous cinnamon rolls. I need them in 3 hours." The old Clara would have panicked. Her heart would be pounding. Her palms would be sweating. She would have said, "Yes, and then she would have spent the next 3 hours in a state of pure stress, hating herself and hating the man. She would have been full of resentment. Resentment is a feeling of deep anger or bitterness, because you feel you are being treated unfairly. But the truth is, she was treating herself unfairly by saying yes to an impossible request. The new Clara, the garden Clara, took a breath. She heard the critic. Say yes. You need the money. Don't make him angry. But she also heard the kind, curious voice. What do I need? I need to be realistic. That is not possible. It is not a reasonable request. It is okay to say no. So, she looked at the man, and she smiled kindly. She said, Thank you so much for thinking of me for your party. My cinnamon rolls are very popular. She validated him first. Then, she set the boundary. My rolls take 4 hours to make properly, with the dough rising 2 times. I cannot make 200 good rolls in 3 hours. It is just not possible. She offered a solution. I can sell you the 20 rolls I have left in the case. Or I would be happy to make 200 for you another day with 24 hours' notice. The man looked annoyed. Are you sure? It's really important. I'll pay extra. This was the test. The old Clara would have given in. But the new Clara stood firm. She kept her kind smile. I am sure. I cannot give you a good product in that time, and I am not willing to sell you a bad one. I can offer you the 20 I have. The man sighed. Clara's heart was beating fast. She was afraid he would be angry and yell. But then the man said, Okay, I understand. That's fair. I'll take the 20 you have now. And I will call you next week to order for my next party. Thank you for being honest. He left. Clara let out a huge breath she didn't know she was holding. She had said no. She had said no to an important-looking man, and the world did not end. He was not angry. He actually respected her. He called her honest. She had respected herself. She had protected her time, her energy, and the quality of her product. She felt proud. This was a new, warm, solid feeling. This was self-kindness. This was self-love in action. Saying no is a very difficult speaking practice in any language. It is not about being rude or unkind. It is about being honest and clear. It is about protecting yourself. Let's practice saying no politely. Imagine a friend asks you to help them move to a new apartment all day Saturday, but you are already exhausted and you know you need to rest. Your critic says, You are a bad friend. You have to say yes. Your kind garden voice says, You must take care of your health. You will be a better friend if you are not burnt out. Let's practice the polite no. Repeat after me. I am so sorry, but I am not able to help on Saturday. I wish I could, but I am not available at that time. Thank you so much for asking me, but I have to say no this time. I cannot do that, but I am sending you my best wishes. These phrases are so important. They are boundaries. They are self-respect. The biggest and deepest change for Clara was how she dealt with her emotions. Before, she had a list of good feelings and bad feelings. Good feelings were happy, productive, cheerful, energetic, and calm. Bad feelings were sad, angry, lonely, tired, anxious, or frustrated. When she felt a good feeling, she was happy. But when she felt a bad feeling, her critic would attack her for the feeling itself. What's wrong with you? Stop being sad. You have a good life. Be grateful. Don't be so negative. Just be happy. She would try to push the bad feelings away. She would fight them. She was like a person trying to hold a big inflatable beach ball underwater. It takes so much energy to hold it down, And the ball always, always pops back up, usually right in your face, and even stronger than before. Now, she thought about Mr. Harrison's garden. In a garden, you need sunshine. Sunshine is good, but you also need rain. You need clouds. The rain isn't bad. The rain is necessary. The rain is essential for growth. The rain helps the roots grow deep. Clara started to see her emotions like the weather. They come and they go. They are not good or bad. They are just weather. They are just information. One day, a few months later, she woke up and just felt sad. There was no big reason. The bakery was doing well. The sun was shining. But she felt a heavy gray cloud of sadness inside her. The old Clara would have been furious with herself. Why are you sad? You have no reason. You are so ungrateful. Get over it. The new Clara, the one who was practicing self-compassion, just sat with the feeling. She made her morning coffee, and she sat by her window. She said to herself, I feel sad today. Okay, it is just a feeling. It is the weather inside me. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to fight it. It's just rain. She was kind to her sadness. She didn't force herself to be happy and energetic at the bakery. She moved a little more slowly. She put on quiet, calm music in the shop. She was gentle with herself all day. She treated herself like you would treat a friend who is feeling sad. And by the evening, she noticed the sadness was starting to lift. It was passing. Because she didn't fight it, because she didn't add a layer of shame on top of the sadness, it didn't stay. She had allowed the rain, and now the sun was starting to come out again. This is a very deep practice, accepting all of our emotions. We are not robots. We are humans. We have a full, beautiful, and complex range of feelings. Let's practice accepting our feelings, whatever they are. Whatever you are feeling right now, just notice it. Let's practice the words. Repeat after me. Right now, I am feeling happy/sad/tired/anxious/calm. And that is okay. This feeling is allowed to be here. It is like the weather. It is a visitor. It will not last forever. It will pass. I can be kind to myself, no matter what I feel. This is so important. This is how you build a real, strong, and loving relationship with yourself. Clara's whole life began to change. Her bakery was full of life again. Because she was rested and not afraid, she was experimenting with new recipes all the time. She tried making a chocolate lavender cake. The first one she made tasted like soap. She had used way too much lavender. The old Clara would have had a breakdown. She would have felt that familiar hot shame. The new Clara tasted it, made a terrible face, and burst out laughing. She threw it away and said, "Okay, note to self, less lavender." That was a data point. She was not afraid to fail anymore. Failure was just part of the process. It was just information. It was just learning. She started going to the park with Maya again. She called her friends. She was laughing more. She was more relaxed. Her friends all noticed. "Clara," Maya said one day as they were sitting on a bench, "you seem so different. You seem lighter. You seem happy. Like, really happy. What changed? Did you get a new boyfriend?" Clara thought for a moment. She looked at the big, strong trees in the park. She thought of Mr. Harrison and his little, struggling plant. "No," Clara said slowly, smiling. "No boyfriend, I guess. I just stopped fighting with myself. I stopped trying to be perfect. I realized I was spending all my energy, every single day, being my own worst enemy. And I was just so tired of fighting. I was exhausted. So I decided to try being my own friend instead. This is the journey. This is the practice. It is moving from being your worst enemy to being your best friend. It is learning to love who you are. Not the perfect version of you that you think you should be. Not the version of you that never makes mistakes. But the real you. The human you. The you that makes mistakes. The you that gets tired. The you that feels sad. The you that is learning English and sometimes forgets the words or says the wrong thing. That person deserves love. That person deserves kindness. The final step for Clara, the hardest one, was learning to look in the mirror. For years, she hated mirrors. When she saw her reflection, her critic would just list all her flaws. Your nose is too big. You have dark circles under your eyes. You look tired. Your hair is messy. You have a pimple. It was just another battleground, another place to fail. One morning, after months of practicing this new self-kindness, she stood in front of her bathroom mirror. The critic started. "You look," but Clara stopped it. She took a deep breath, and she really looked at her own eyes. She didn't see a perfect person. She saw Clara. She saw her kind eyes that were often tired, yes, but were also full of life. She saw the lines on her face from laughing with Maya. She saw the strength in her hands, hands that could take simple flour and water and turn it into bread that made people happy. She remembered something Mr. Harrison had said in the garden. He had pointed to a beautiful, big, bright yellow sunflower and a small, delicate, pale pink rose. "You would never criticize the rose for not being a sunflower," he said. "You would never tell the sunflower it's too big and too yellow. You just appreciate them for what they are. They are both beautiful. They are just different." Clara looked in the mirror and thought, "I am not a sunflower. I am not a rose. I am Clara. And that is enough." She didn't need to be perfect. She just needed to be herself. This is self-acceptance. This is the foundation of self-love. It is not arrogance. Arrogance is, "I am better than you." Self-love is, "I am enough, just as I am." Our story about Clara is ending, but your story is just beginning. This practice of self-kindness, of self-compassion, is a daily one. It is not a race. You don't finish it and get a certificate. It is a way of living. It is a choice you make over and over. And it is especially important, so important, when you are learning something difficult, like a new language. Learning English is a long journey. It is not easy. You will have good days, and you will have burnt croissant days. You will have days where you speak beautifully, and you feel like a genius. And you will have days where you can't form a single sentence, and you forget words you knew yesterday. This is normal. This is part of the process. On those hard days, on the burnt croissant days, I want you to remember Clara. I want you to remember Mr. Harrison's garden. You are not a bad student. You are not stupid. You are not a failure. You are a person who is learning a very difficult skill. You are a plant that is growing. Maybe you are struggling. And if you are struggling, what do you need? Are your conditions wrong? Do you need more practice? Do you need more rest? Do you need to listen to a lesson again? Do you need to ask a question? Be curious. Don't judge. Be kind. So, we have listened to a story today. We have learned some new, important vocabulary, like perfectionist, shame, guilt, compassion, self-compassion, validate, isolate, struggling, curiosity, turning point, boundaries, resentment, and self-acceptance. And we have practiced speaking. Now, I want to give you one final speaking practice. This is the most important one. These are phrases I want you to say to yourself every day, when you look in the mirror, when you make a mistake, when you feel tired. Let's practice them now. Please, repeat them after me and try to feel the meaning of the words. Repeat after me. I am doing my best. My best is enough. I am learning and I am growing every day. It is okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are my teachers. I will be patient with myself. I will be kind to myself. I am proud of myself for trying. I am enough, just as I am. Hold on to those words. Write them down. Put them on your mirror. Put them on your computer. Say them when your inner critic gets loud. They are your new voice. They are the voice of the gardener. They are the voice of your best friend. Thank you so much for joining me today at English in Fluency. It was a real honor to share this time with you and to talk about such an important, deep topic. Your homework today is not grammar. Your homework is to practice. Today, just for today, find one small way to be kind to yourself. Maybe it is taking a 10-minute break when you are tired. Maybe it is forgiving yourself for a small mistake. Maybe it is just looking in the mirror and saying, I am doing my best. Just one small act of self-kindness. And I have a request for our amazing community. In the comments below, I want you to write one kind phrase. It can be one we practiced today, or one from your own heart, in your own words. Let's fill the comments with kindness and self-compassion. Let's make this a safe, warm, and supportive place to grow and to learn together. I am Alex. Keep practicing your English. And please, please, be kind to yourself. I will see you in the next lesson. Goodbye for now.